Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Nicole, Amber, Jennine, and Leslie as they dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies with practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine-tune your mindset and energy, we've got the golden nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path to collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show. I'm Leslie, and I will be your host today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the topic of awareness and how being aware can change your life and have an impact on others around you. Hi, everyone. It's so amazing to see you here today.
Hi.
So, what is awareness? Awareness is the knowledge or perception of a situation or fact. It's being present and mindful of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. It's recognizing that you influence your reality. Awareness also allows yourself to make conscious choices that align with your desires. So, awareness is being aware of your thoughts and perception of the world. What are some of the benefits of being self-aware or awareness?
For me, one of the benefits to being self-aware is making better decisions. If I'm thinking about and aware of what I'm deciding on, just having the awareness of the situation enables me to make a better decision.
Aware,
That makes
yes.
sense.
Decision making.
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, my
I
mantra
agree.
is, oh, sorry, were you going to say something else, Jennine?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say that my mantra has really been this past year, like, awareness is my superpower. And I mean this for everybody, really, right? Because without being aware, we can't change something. So, if I know there's this old poem about like walking down a street and falling in a hole, right? And then we keep walking down, falling in a hole, right? So we're going to keep, like, yes, we're aware that we're falling in a hole, right? Like, we understand that. But if we're not of the awareness that we're actually walking down the same path and it keeps happening, we're just going to keep doing it, right? And this could be for anything, our thoughts, our beliefs, anything like that. So it really comes from, okay, what am I aware of, right? Because if we're not aware that, when we spill some milk or something, we're calling ourselves stupid, for instance. Let's just, bring that about, right? These feelings are going to keep happening, these emotions, different things. But then once I go inside and I realize, hey, like, I just noticed that I spilt my coffee. I said coffee instead of milk, but right, that, like, I'm calling myself stupid, for instance, right? I'm now aware that this is happening. Now I can actually change it to something else, like, oh well, I'll make some more, or I'll clean it up, or whatever it may be, right? So I think that's really the key to awareness and shifting it, and the difference between the two.
So your superpower to be able to change your life.
Yes,
exactly. I love
exactly.
that. Amazing.
I love how you worded that, Amber, because that is what came up for me too, but not as a superpower. In fact, I'm going to start using that and claiming awareness as my
Please,
superpower.
anybody
Also.
take it.
Yeah. But it's so true, because the thing is that if there's things that keep happening in your life that you don't like, you can't change them without being aware. first. You can't change anything without being aware first. So that's super important. And I love that. Thank you. Stealing.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
please steal away,
amazing.
everybody.
Yeah. So
Yeah, she said that so perfectly, and that's what I was, meaning by, making better decisions. You
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
have to be aware, or you will keep going down that same path, that same road.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
that was perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like just jumping onto that with like it helps, better understand our emotions.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if we're aware of how we respond to certain situations or to certain people, then we find that we're getting sort of a negative outcome from that, then being aware of that emotion, we're able to change that, right? So it
Yes, it improves our communication, being
absolutely, and it
aware.
can
Yeah.
impact other people, right?
Yeah.
Have a big impact on other people because you're now aware of what you're doing or maybe not doing, maybe your strengths and your weaknesses, your limitations, your emotions. And that can have a huge impact on the way that, like Jennine said, you communicate with people. Yeah.
Mm. Has a huge impact on others, but it's also, it's great because it allows us to dive deeper into self-discovery, right? When
Mhm.
we're paying attention to all those things and paying attention to the reactions, as you say, right? And getting to know ourselves on a deeper level, what those emotions are meaning and what they're trying to tell us and all those things. It's actually is it's really deep, really powerful when you think about it.
It
It
is really
really, yeah.
powerful
Yes.
because I find that being aware then boosts your confidence.
Mm.
Because now you know exactly what you're doing that is really impacting your world, right? Whether it's an impacting your world in a positive or a negative way. So I'm going to continue this because I'm aware that this is happening and that it's a good thing, or I'm going to change it because it's not making me feel very good. So
Yeah.
it is very deep and a very powerful superpower,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
Amber puts it.
Mhm.
So this is so powerful. How can we become more aware? How can we get to that point where we're able to use it to be able to change our life and impact people around us and our own lives?
I think one of the ways that we can become more aware is by reflecting on our thoughts and our feelings. And, you know, when a situation comes up that we become aware of, then we start asking why did this happen? And you just like dig deeper into the why. I think awareness allows you, a chance to dig deeper and to figure out, to be more curious about why this happened or why that was said or things of that nature.
Maybe like piggyback on that. So to kind of step back and take a look at what happened from your point of view and from the other person's point of view. So it's not just all centered around yourself, it's also centered around what the impact was on the other person too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their reaction to whatever, and then you can the awareness of their reaction, you become aware of it, and then you just dig deeper and why did that happen? Why was that
Mm.
said?
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
reflection. Yeah.
And I
I
love
like to
how
think,
you said about sorry, Amber.
no, you're good. Go.
Um, Leslie, about taking a step back. I think that's so huge. I think it's in the pause. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to slow down, start paying attention, and being more intentional about it. So when you set the intention to be more aware that of your actions and all those things, it just naturally starts to build that muscle. The more you set your intention, the more you pause, you reflect, as Jennine said, the more you will become aware and the more you will build that muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. It is a muscle.
Mm.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Amber?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about as a mom, so and mine are still, little, about how we can hear things happening in the silence, right? So I know, for instance, if my husband and I are on business calls and all of a sudden a house gets really quiet, I'm like hyper focused on like, okay, then what are you doing? Right. So listening to the quiet, right? And being, I use the term hyper focused only because and not in a like overwhelming sense, but right, like as moms, we kind of have that third sense of like, okay, I can hear the quiet and it's very loud, right? So sometimes like that, like of like hearing the quietness of like your body. So we may not be aware of the thoughts, but we may be aware of the feeling. So let's say we go outside and our neighbor says something, you may not be aware of what he said and what you're thinking, but you may be aware that like all of a sudden like your stomach is tight, like your chest is tight, you're not feeling good. So then that would be the first step to be like, oh, okay, like this doesn't feel good. And then like Leslie and Jennine said, stepping back and then going, okay, what thoughts were just happening there? And if you're new to this, right, it's going to be a process. But definitely the reflection of like, okay, now that I'm not feeling amazing, like what just happened there? And then you can kind of like retracing your steps of like, finding your lost keys or something, right? Of like, okay, where was I last? So in terms of that, it would be like, okay, my neighbor said this. Okay, and then what was I saying to myself after that, right? So you kind of like retrace your steps, and eventually it actually comes faster and faster. And then in the moment, like now in the moment of not feeling good, I'm able to catch it like right then as it's happening and going, okay, oof, like my friend just said something, I'm feeling this, and then I retrace like what I was thinking and feeling to be able to catch it. And then it, like I said, as you go along, it happens quicker and quicker, and you're able to catch it faster.
So really paying attention to your body and how your body is responding is awareness too. Not only
Yes.
that I'm
Yes.
not feeling good physically, like maybe being
Yeah.
sick, but also your gut will tell you your emotions and how you're responding to what's around you at the time, right? So really important. I know
Yeah.
like I was gonna just add like to the whole reflection pieces. I do a lot of journaling, and what I found was it really makes me more aware of what my consistent thoughts are about things.
Yeah.
So of course I'll journal, and then like whenever, once a week or whatever, I don't really have a time frame. I'll go back and I'll read several days in a row, or I'll read a few weeks in a row and I'll find, wow, I was really concentrating on that. And I see that this is coming up all the time. So journaling has helped me become more aware of how I'm feeling, some of the thoughts that have been like dominating my life or not dominating my life. So
Yeah.
that's how you can become more aware of yourself as well.
I actually just to add really quickly, because I'm thinking of people that are completely unaware, right? Which we've all been there at one point. And I was watching a podcast by Chris Williamson, and he had a guest on there, and he said, if you're starting off fresh, right? He goes, just finish the sentence to these certain questions. So, for instance, like the world is, right? Or if you're a woman, like all men are, or every time I meet a friend, dot, 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 right? So you're creating those scenarios because, and he goes, don't think about it. He's like, don't sit and think about it. Like literally say it. And then the first thing that comes up, either write it or say it, because then that is actually gathering, right? So this can be your past limiting beliefs. That could be stories you grew up with, whatever, right? And that's actually a really good place to start with, just kind of generalities of like, how are you thinking of the world? Or like, what are you know what I mean? Whatever. I don't know, what it may be. Like, what's your kind of knee-jerk reaction to certain things? And then from there, you can gather more and more about it. Because then you start noticing other things like, your phone rings and are you thinking, oh man, it's got to be a bill collector? Like, what are your thoughts, right? On all of these things, right? So
I love that. That's amazing. So how has being aware impacted your life? Anybody have an example of how being more aware is you're able to live a better life?
Yeah, so many ways. It's just, I mean, like you guys said earlier, it's so deep. Um, I just think just being aware, period, impacts everything that you think, you say, just how you live, um, and being aware of being aware
Yeah.
is a thing too,
Yeah.
because before I got into um, this teaching, this type of teaching, I wasn't aware of being aware.
Yep.
I wasn't aware of observing my thoughts, of observing, what I was saying. I would just say and do without being the observer. But I think that just knowing that awareness plays such a big part in my life um, has made me aware to be more cautious about how I live my life, because of how I want to live my life, if
That's
that
so
makes
beautiful.
sense.
So beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else?
Yeah. It really sort of struck me because, before I became aware, like, as Jennine said, at one point we weren't aware that we were aware, or,
Yeah.
you have to be aware to be aware. And it just, knowing that your thoughts, your feelings, your actions have such an impact on the world that you're experiencing and what you're creating for yourself, it kind of gives me like that sense of empowerment. Like it gives me the ability to stop and realize that everything that is happening around me is happening for me, and therefore I can observe what's going on, and if I'm not liking it, I can change it.
Yeah.
So, that to me is super, super empowering. And it's kind of a relief, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It's like you have this choice now. You're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
so aware of everything that is around you and the way that you're looking at it, the perception that you perceive it. And you're like, well, that doesn't serve me. That doesn't
Yeah.
feel so good. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change that. No, I don't believe that. I believe this, right? So yeah, it's that superpower coming in, and it's so empowering, and it's like this amazing gift that you can give yourself to completely revamp your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely shifts you away from being a victim, right? Because then when you're thinking that everything's happening to you, right? Oh, it's just my husband. Oh, it's just my wife. Oh, it's just my kids, my job, my XYZ, right? And then that's how you're living. Like, and I can say this from personal experience. I literally wake up every day like, all right, playing Russian roulette. You know what I mean? Of like, well, we'll see what's going to happen today. It's just a crapshoot. You know what I mean? And then obviously I was not living a grand life, and I was angry and I was sad and I was just in suffering, Um, and it was all about like, well, this is all happening to me. Well, if it wasn't for this guy, if it wasn't for my kid, if it wasn't for this job, if it wasn't for the economy, blah, 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 then everything would be amazing. Right. And so now that I've shifted to become aware of like, okay, in that moment, like it doesn't matter. Like I can choose how I want to feel, I can choose how I want to think, and I can choose how I want to believe. So you're right. Like it's so empowering to be like, wait a minute, like just because so and so said something, I can still choose to feel empowered. I can still choose to feel happy, joyful, XYZ, you know? And because I always like to go for a visual, I almost see it as like you're living on like a gold mine, a literally gold mine. And you're like, man, I wish I had money, meanwhile you're sitting under the gold, right? Because once you realize it's there, now you can utilize it and now you can create the life you want, right? And that's just a metaphor, like money doesn't bring happiness, but I'm saying like it's all there within us, right? This has always been here. And so once we become aware, like I said, then we get to change it. So it's, there it is.
Yeah, it allows you to stop playing the blame game
Yeah. Yep.
and fall back on yourself to make the choices, about things, about how you want to feel about what this person said. Just because they said that, that's their opinion. And I don't
Yeah.
have to, it just, I don't have to take that on as my truth.
Yeah.
So it allows us to stop playing the blame game and to just make choices. If things are seemingly not fair or not right, we don't have to fall into that victim state either.
Yeah.
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 I love
And just
that.
being aware that we have, the option to make those choices is fantastic. It's a
Yeah.
life changer.
Absolutely.
It's really helpful. And in fact, I used this, that with a friend of mine who shared that she was nervous. She was going to have to drive her dad to and from his surgery in his vehicle. And that brings up, feelings of nervousness and all that kind of stuff because, he reacts a certain way when other people are driving and all those things. And I said to her, I was like, listen, just remember, you know what you're doing. So no matter what he says, you can rest assured that you know what you're doing. So you can almost like let it go in one ear and out the other. Sometimes you just need to humor people.
Yeah.
But, be aware that you know what it is that you're doing and be aware that, his opinion is his opinion. It doesn't have to be yours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful example, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Jennine, before we wrap up our talk today, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I do. I have a little something that I wrote down. Um, Here goes. Self-awareness is the quiet knowing that allows us to align with the divine flow of life. It is the sacred pause before reaction, the gentle knowing, the gentle noticing of our thoughts, emotions, and energy. When we become aware of our inner state, we step into our power, choosing faith over fear, love over limitation. God's presence is always within, whispering truth and stillness. As we cultivate awareness, we recognize that our external world mirrors our internal state. With this knowing, we no longer strive, we align. We no longer beg, we embody. And in that alignment, all that is meant for us is flow and effortlessness. Already done, already provided.
Mm,
Love it.
that was
Beautiful.
so beautiful.
So good.
Thank you so much, everybody, for and thank you, Jennine. That was beautiful. Thank you for tuning in to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. And if you got value out of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember, the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Bye for now.
Bye.